Hey, welcome. Today, we're going to dive into a really powerful reflection by a writer named Koro on Dietrich Bonhoeffer's classic Life Together. It takes a really common idea about faith and just flips it right on its head. And the core thought here is, well, it's surprisingly simple, but wow, is it profound. You've probably heard this before, right? This idea that Christians aren't really lonely because, we're all spiritually connected. And it's a comforting thought. It's this belief that no matter where we are, we're united by this invisible spiritual bond. And that brings a ton of solace, especially when we literally can't be in the same room. But here's the question that Koro-san's reflection really digs into, and it totally changes the game. What if that spiritual unity isn't supposed to be a substitute for meeting up? What if it's the very thing that makes getting together in person even more important? So here's our game plan for unpacking that. First, we'll totally affirm that unseen connection. Then, we'll get into why meeting is so important. We're going to look at worship as this two-way street, dive into the meaning of communion, and wrap it all up with this idea of a faith you can actually feel. Okay, so first things first, let's be super clear. The point here isn't to say that our spiritual connection isn't real. Actually, it's the complete opposite. It's the bedrock, the foundation for this whole idea. Without it, none of the rest of it makes any sense. And the source uses this beautiful picture of John on the island of Patmos. I mean, here's a guy who was physically totally isolated, completely alone. And yet, he was in deep communion with God. He wasn't truly lonely because the Holy Spirit was right there with him. The spiritual unity, it's a real, powerful, undeniable truth for believers. All right, so if that spiritual connection is so real, this is where the argument takes a really fascinating turn. Why on earth does showing up in person matter so much? This right here is the key insight. Koro-san, thinking about Bonhoeffer or Bon-san, argues that our spiritual bond isn't some free pass to stay home. It actually creates this deep, fundamental need to be together physically. It's not some chore. It's the natural, beautiful result of having a shared identity. Because think about it, when we actually meet face to face, all those abstract spiritual ideas suddenly become real. They become tangible. Joy isn't just a feeling inside you. It takes shape in a shared laugh. Encouragement isn't just a text message. It has the actual warmth of a hand on your shoulder. Love becomes something you experience, not just something you understand. Now, there is no better example of this whole idea in action than when we worship together. It's designed to be way more than just a private thing between you and God. Just think about the difference for a second. Online worship, which, hey, can be an amazing gift, is mostly a vertical connection. It's you and it's God. But when you're in person, it adds this absolutely crucial horizontal dimension. You're breathing the same air. You're hearing all those voices rising together. You feel that collective energy. And that horizontal link, it is so powerful, and it's just about impossible to replicate online. And the source points out this kind of subtle danger. While online sermons and podcasts are fantastic resources, if that's all we rely on, it can slowly nudge us toward a very self-centered, individualistic faith, one that's disconnected from the real, messy, beautiful needs and joys of the actual local community that we're a part of. And that leads us to what Koro-san calls the most important point of all, the physical shared act of the Eucharist, or Holy Communion. So the Eucharist, by its very nature, is a shared meal. It's an act of remembering and connecting that is meant to be done together. The source argues that if you do it alone, you're kind of missing the whole point. It is fundamentally a community practice. And the meaning that's packed into this simple act is it's huge. One, it's a reconfirmation that Jesus is present with us, right here, right now. Two, it's a reminder of the promise that he is coming back. And three, it's like a foretaste, a little sneak peek of that perfect heavenly community we're all looking forward to. It connects our past, our present, and our future all in one shared moment. I mean, this quote from Bonhoeffer just nails it, doesn't it? The Eucharist is a time to visibly taste the reality of Christ. It's the ultimate example of the spiritual being made physical, tangible, and deeply, deeply communal. It's something you do with your body, together with other bodies. So all of this is pointing to one fundamental truth. Faith isn't just some idea that we hold in our heads. It's an embodied experience. It's something we live out with our whole selves. The source uses a perfect analogy, a bicycle. For a healthy faith to actually move forward, it needs both wheels. The vertical wheel, that's our relationship with God. The horizontal wheel, that's our relationship with the people around us. You just can't move forward with only one. You need both. Both are absolutely essential. So let's put it all together. That spiritual connection is real, it's the foundation, but it's not the whole story. Showing up in person is how we make that spiritual reality concrete. It's how we get both that vertical connection to God and that vital horizontal connection to each other. Because at the end of the day, a faith that's really alive is one that's embodied, experienced, and lived out together. And that really leaves us with a challenge, doesn't it? In our world that's so full of digital connection, it's really easy to just settle for the spiritual part alone. So the question for all of us is, how can we be more intentional about creating opportunities to physically show up, to, in Bonhoeffer's words, visibly taste the reality of our community this week? It's something to think about. Thanks so much for tuning in.